Henshin to go baby. What's good, guys? Yoku here, and this was not straight. Anyhow, hey, we're gonna be talking about Topaz's light cone today and whether or not I think she is worth it with or without her light cone. All right, so for starters, I think most of us understand how Topaz works, but there could be some confusing things. Now, obviously, I won't know everything until we release my full guide, which I have now officially finished writing. Once that's officially revealed for you guys to be able to look at, we can kind of go over some of the stuff pertaining to Topaz. So she's going to be a follow-up character. We know that for a fact. We know that Hunt path right now doesn't have too many light cones. In fact, I don't think they have any light cones that specifically target or boost follow-up damage. Her light cone is going to be really important. It won't be a must pull, but I'll go over some of these things. Okay, her traces being revealed here, we can see that's going to be okay, beautiful. Her basic attack turns into a follow-up attack. Awesome. I know the skill also counts. If I'm not, yeah, the skill has to count because it's Numby. The skill is also a follow-up attack. The other trace, financial turmoil, is going to increase their damage to fire weakness enemies or fire weak enemies. Beautiful. And then Bonanza State, Topaz regenerates energy. Okay, so it looks like, based off what I'm reading right here, this might be a good indicator that Numby is not going to give energy back unless you're in the Bonanza State. That will suck. I'm not gonna lie to you, Chief, but it is what it is. Basic attack, we can see that right there. The technique, we kind of know about that already. The talent is Numby himself. Do we have any numbers? We don't have any numbers. We don't know how much his initial speed is so far, or anything else, like how many actions he's going to be able to take, whatever. Okay, so little stuff, right? I hate looking at these because honestly, they never give us the information that we would want to be able to see. But let's go into the meat and bones. The meat and bones, wow, we are not animals. The meat and potatoes of what we're looking at. We are looking at this bad boy right here, this bad girl. Okay, the light cone preview, the Worrisome Blissful. Ooh, I like this. All right, 582 attack is not bad. I think this puts her light cone in the top five, I don't want to say top three, right? There's Daniel's, Jingliu's, Zila's. It might be top three or right outside of top three. I'm not too sure, but one of the highest attacking light cones in the game. Base stats, that's really good. Here we go, one at a time. Increases the wearer's crit rate by 18% and their follow-up attacks damage by 30%. That's huge. After the wearer uses a follow-up attack, apply the tame state to the target, stacking up to 2 stacks. When allies hit enemy targets under the tame state, every tame stack increases the crit damage dealt by 12%. That's 24%. That's 24% extra crit damage on whatever enemy you're smacking on. Then you have the crit rate increase by 18%. So similar to Zila, where once you get enough of your substats, like you build her correctly, you can just remove the crit rate body piece altogether and go hard crit damage. That's awesome. And then of course the big thing, increasing follow-up attack damage by 30%. That's big. Like I told you guys just now, we don't have another light cone that does that. In fact, let me just double check. Okay, so I'm looking at the light cones here just for like main stuff. You guys probably can't see this because of the way my screen is, but I'm just verifying, right? Like double checking. Sleep Like the Dead, nothing about follow-up attacks. In the Night, I know that has nothing to do with follow-up attacks. Cruising in the Stellar Sea, I know that has nothing to do with follow-up attacks. Return to Darkness, nothing to do with follow-up attacks. No other light cone in the game right now has anything to do with follow-up attacks. A lot of them have basic attack using skill stacks like swordplay, right? You do attacks 5 times, you're going to stack it. Only silence remains, increases the attack. Nope, nothing to do with follow-up attacks. So the game having no other light cone in the game has anything to do with follow-up attacks. We don't have any relic sets at the moment that have anything to do with follow-up attacks. If you are trying to build Topaz, and you guys know me, I'm a huge advocate for pulling on the light cone banner. I won't say that her light cone is a must pull, but I will say it is heavily incentivized to pull for this light cone. The reason I'm saying that is for everything that I just explained previously. You don't have another way to get follow-up attack damage. Like nothing else in the game is increasing follow-up attack damage for Topaz. Yes, you might have some things like that for Erudition because that's what they're built off of, but not for the Hunt path. And Topaz is a Hunt character. So this is going to be really hard for you guys if you're not going for her light cone. If you don't shoot for her light cone to try and boost her up even further, it's going to be really difficult to get like that. I won't say difficult, you're just missing damage that would have essentially been on her kit for free. Another thing about her light cone, not only will the crit rate matter, the crit rate matters, but I mean, cruising in the Stellar Sea gives you 8% for free. Just use a crit rate body piece. I know, understand free to play players won't want to do this, right? I mentioned light cone banner and they lose their mind and their head explodes. Just pull cruising in the Stellar Sea or use swordplay and then use a crit rate body piece. Getting light cones are a luxury. Sometimes they can be seen as a necessity, but the general gist of what we're going at here is that you get a lot of free stats when you do get the light cone, the signature light cone or 5-star light cone versus a 4-star light cone, or some of you have 3-star light cones. And lastly, the tame state, that's big. This basically confirms what I was talking about in a couple of my previous videos pertaining to Topaz. And I said that Topaz, basically because she has a vulnerability, like the debuff is a vulnerability, this adds another one. Topaz is basically a hunt character mixed with an agility character, which like really goes into the whole sub DPS role thing. But the more and more I look at Topaz, the more and more I'm like letting my cogs, meshing cogs, the more I'm letting my cogs in my brain turn, the wheels turn. I'm starting to understand this character a lot more. I'm not really getting excited for her per se. I think I'm getting excited for what she could bring to the game, but we'll talk about that in another video. Lastly, we have the actual light cone banner here, what the 4-star options you will get. The mole welcomes you. I hate this light cone because it's when you use a basic attack, when you use a skill, when you use ultimate, you get the 12% stack. This of course goes up. This isn't horrible. I take it back. I don't hate this light cone anymore. It's just weird. We can't use it though because it is for destruction, so you can't use that. Which granted though, would there be any destruction characters that work with Topaz? I really don't see Jing Liu working with Topaz, but then again, I don't see Jing Liu working with Topaz because while you might not want it, I think that could clear really well, but you don't have the follow-up attacks, so that might suck, and you would have to force Topaz into the Bonanza state at all times. It's really weird. Even if you don't pull Topaz, if you do not pull Topaz, hear me out. New player, returning player, whatever the case may be, try to snipe one or a couple of the resolution shines. Don't ball out. If you're not going for her light cone, do not like ball out. Just attempt it. Attempt to get one resolution shines if you can. This light cone is what you're seeing everybody's Palo run this. You're seeing everyone's Silver Wolf if they don't have the event light cone. Anyone that's running Nihility, you're seeing them use resolution shines a lot. Why? Because of the ensnare ability, having the defense reduction. And then of course, whenever you get multiple super impositions, that 12% just goes higher and higher and higher. So it's really nice. It's a really nice light cone. I think I have an S3 for it myself, so I'm definitely going to be hoping that I get 2 more copies so I get an S5, but it is what it is. Lastly is only silence remains. This is for the hunt. No. I mean, it's nice. If you can superimpose this, it's okay. It's going to give you a raw attack increase, so it's nothing too crazy about that. And then as long as there are 2 enemies or less on the field, you're going to get that 12% crit rate increase, which that could help you because 12% crit rate increase might be a little bit better, if you will, than cruising in the Stellar Sea. It really just depends on what you're doing. I'm not a fan of conditionals that I can't control, so having fewer enemies, who's to say that the boss summons a mob and now you have 2 fish bombs, you have 3 enemies, well, you lose your crit rate. If you built your entire kit or your entire build around only silence remains, so it's like, okay, I know I have 12% free crit rate, I only have 36% or I only have 38% crit rate because I know that the my hunt light cone is going to give me the 12%, bump me up to 50%, and then whatever goes from there. But if they don't have that, you never get the 12%. So it kind of is what it is. Ultimately, would I say that it's a must pull? No, I went over that a little bit earlier, like in the middle of the video. But I do think if you have the means to pull for Worrisome Blissful, do it 100%. I, once again, am a huge advocate for telling people to pull on the light cone banner if it is your character. Topaz is looking to be a character, and again, I'll say this in some future videos. Right now, from everything that I've studied on Topaz, I've researched, I'm looking at, I'm calculating, everything like that. Topaz is 100%. If you play Genshin Impact, you know what I'm going to say, or rather you will understand what I'm going to say. If you don't play Genshin Impact, I'm going to explain it. So like chill out. Topaz is the Nilou of Star Rail as of right now. When Nilou, which Nilou is the orange, the redhead girl, she's wearing blue, she's a dancer, like Arabian Nights. Anyway, Nilou was a character that when she initially released, she was considered bad, or rather a hard skip. That's what I meant to say, not bad. She was considered a hard skip, not because the character was bad. On paper, the character is cracked. She was considered bad because there was no one in the game that could utilize her kit functionally until a couple patches later. And so it wasn't until they got Nahida and then Kuki became really good with Dendro and a couple other things that really started to make Nilou shine. You started getting Hyper Bloom teams that were out of this world. Topaz is very similar right now in that regard, that we don't have too many follow-up attack characters, one, that we can control to choose besides Jing Yuan, and two, any of them who have forced follow-up attacks. Clara is probably the only one that I can think of that has a forced, and by forced I mean she gets hit, Spheroid comes out and thum, right, repulsor blast. You have Himiko, which you need to break them, which is way easier with multiple enemies, especially little mobs. So if the enemy is constantly summoning little mobs, it's way better for Himiko and Topaz to work together, because then you constantly get Numbys, you constantly get Himikos with the pizza cutter. And then of course last would be Jing Yuan. Oh, we have Herta as well, but that requires you to be 50% or less per enemy. And then if you get them all beneath 50%, well, that's it. She never gets any more. So it's a little more it's more difficult to manage something like that because you can't control it 100%. Who's texting me? But yeah, you can't control it. That's all it is. It's that simple. Once we get more characters in the game, once we get new equipment, wink wink, in the game, you will start to see that Topaz has a very high ceiling. I've seen y'all comparing her to Kafka. Again, I still don't fully agree, but I don't fully disagree. It's gonna take me a little bit more time to really solidify my thoughts on whether or not I agree with that or not, agree with that statement. But that's gonna be it for me today, guys. Hopefully y'all enjoyed this video. I just wanted to get this out here, let y'all know my opinions, my thoughts on whether or not I think this Lycone is worth it. I do think this Lycone is worth it. Will I say Topaz is worth it without her Lycone? Possibly. I do think that she has a couple of good options. Some 4-star options are pretty solid. Cruising in the Stellar Sea is okay. If you just happen to have In the Night, then that works too, maybe. We'll talk about it in the guide video. Anyway, like the video, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. We hit 16K. That's crazy. Thank y'all. Can we get 17? I know that's asking for a lot, but I'm just saying thank you guys. I appreciate that. We hit 16K. That came out of nowhere. Was not expecting that at all, but y'all have been killing it with the support lately. So I just kind of hope that, like, fuck the sub count, to be honest. Just keep watching my videos. Smell you later.